Something absolutely wild happened in the world of AI in 2024. Venture capitalists opened their wallets in a way we've never seen before, and it all boils down to one single, almost unbelievable number.
Get ready for this. $50 billion. That is how much cash flooded into AI startups in 2024 alone. Just let that number hang in the air for a second. It's so big, it's hard to even wrap your head around without some context.
So how big is $50 billion really? Well, for starters, it's more than the entire economic output of a country like Luxembourg. But what's really mind-blowing is the speed. That $50 billion is 2.5 times the funding from just the year before. That's not just growth, people. That's a full-blown explosion.
Look, we've all seen tech trends come and go, right? But this is something else entirely. We are in the middle of a boom that's bigger and faster than anything we've ever witnessed. So the big question is, how on earth did we get here?
This growth curve is just insane. Let's look at the timeline. Back in 2020, funding was at a respectable $8 billion. By 2023, it's up to $20 billion. And then, bam, in just 1 year, it jumps to $50 billion. To put that into perspective, that single leap from 2023 to 2024 is more money than the previous 3 years combined.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. This isn't me just hyping things up. The folks over at Crunchbase, who track this stuff for a living, said this was the largest single-year investment in any technology sector, ever, in history. We are literally in uncharted waters.
Okay, so we've established the number is historic, it's huge, all of that. But the really interesting part is, where did all that money actually go? When you break down the $50 billion, you start to see exactly where investors are placing their bets on the future.
All right, check this out. A full half of the money, $25 billion, went directly into generative AI. We're talking about the companies building the large language models and creative tools that have been blowing our minds lately. But look at that second slice, AI infrastructure. That tells you something really important. Building the picks and shovels for this AI gold rush is a massive business too.
Now, inside that massive generative AI pie, you've got a couple of giants that just acted like super magnets for cash. Seriously, they were pulling in money at a level you'd expect from a huge, publicly traded company, not a startup.
First up, you've got Anthropic, the folks behind the Claude models. They raked in over $4 billion in 2024. Think about this. That one company's funding represents 8% of all the AI money invested for the entire year. It's just wild.
But wait, it gets even crazier. Elon Musk's xAI comes along and raises a jaw-dropping $6 billion to build out its AI, Grok. That's not just the biggest deal of the year, it's the largest single funding round for an AI startup in history, period.
So who has this kind of money to throw around? Well, a huge chunk of it, $15 billion, or about 30% of the total, is coming from the big guys. You know, your Googles, your Microsofts, your Amazons. And for them, this is way more than just a financial bet. No. This is a strategic chess move. It's about owning a piece of the future and making sure they don't get left behind.
So what happens when you pour this much jet fuel into an ecosystem? Well, you get a unicorn factory, a super fast production line churning out billion-dollar companies.
How fast? Over 50 new AI unicorns were born in 2024 alone. Let me say that again. Over 50. That is almost one brand new billion-dollar AI company every single week. That pace of value creation is it's completely unheard of.
And they are getting there at lightning speed. You know, a typical startup in another sector might take 5, 6, 7 years to hit that billion-dollar valuation. These AI companies, they're doing it in 2 to 3 years. The whole timeline for success has been radically compressed.
And we're not just talking about 1 or 2 standouts. This is a global wave. You've got Mistral AI out of France, now worth a cool $6 billion. Cohere from Canada hitting $2.2 billion. And it's not just the model makers. Even specialized companies like Runway for AI video and Character.ai for chatbots are joining the billion-dollar club.
Okay, so billions of dollars, dozens of unicorns, these are huge kind of abstract numbers. Let's bring it all back down to earth. What does this AI gold rush actually mean for you?
Let's start with the entrepreneurs and the developers out there. If that's you, you're going to want to listen up. Because to put it simply, the opportunity right now is absolutely historic.
The message from investors couldn't be clearer. If you have a good idea in AI, the money is there waiting for you. And if you have the skills to build it, you are in extremely high demand, with top-tier salaries to match. But maybe the real prize is getting equity, a piece of a company that could be worth $1 billion in just a couple of years. That's life-changing stuff.
All right, let's flip the script. What if you're an investor trying to place smart bets or a business owner just trying to stay ahead of the curve? This boom looks a little different.
For investors, yeah, the upside is obviously massive. But you also have to be asking, is this a bubble? Careful due diligence is absolutely critical. And for business owners, the takeaway is simple. AI is no longer optional. It's a strategic necessity. Why? Because you can bet your bottom dollar that with this much money flowing around, your competitors are already all over it.
So after a year like 2024, with this absolute tidal wave of cash, everyone is asking the same thing. What happens next? Can this possibly keep going? Where do we go from here?
Well, believe it or not, some experts think 2025 could be even bigger, maybe even hitting $75 billion. But you can't have this much money flying around without some chaos. We're going to see a shakeout. That means mergers, acquisitions, and yeah, some high-profile failures. The smart money will also likely get more specific, targeting AI for industries like finance and healthcare. And you can be sure those big corporate giants, they are not done making their big strategic moves.
And all of this brings us back to the central $50 billion question, doesn't it? Are we living through a massive, speculative bubble, fueled by hype and destined to pop? Or is this a completely rational investment in a technology that's going to reshape our world on the same scale as the internet? The answer to that is going to define the next decade of technology.